I don't think that's really valid, no matter like who you play, because
Yeah,
you
at
don't
the end
have
of the
to run.
day,
Yeah, you don't
they
have to
they
run
want to
like same
win.
strats. Yeah,
Yeah.
who wants to lose? You know what I mean?
So here I am with Ashn of Arial Arise Academy. He is probably best known for his quote unquote recent run at SES 7, where he played against Oxygen in the finals. Barn burner of a match, by the way. Ashn, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you? Doing well.
Doing all right. I guess we'll start with the SCS run because it's probably the like biggest talking point right now, especially because
Yeah.
there's been such a dead space for amateur tournaments since then. Like, obviously an impressive run, but it was also kind of like a last hurrah for that Arial Arise Academy to a certain extent, right?
Yeah, it was. Honestly, for our standards, obviously, we had a great run and stuff like that. We were there to win it, no matter how many losses we had in the beginning of the season, no matter like where we were at the beginning of the season. All that matters is that we got back to finals, and we were this close to bringing it back home. Me and Ambi would have been the three times, but yeah. I'll start with the beginning of the season. Whenever
Yep.
we picked up Neo, right? So obviously, we all know behind closed doors, Spiff. That's the reason, Spiff would be leaving. Obviously, he's off to better opportunity.
Yeah.
He obviously went to Invite, and look what he did, right?
Yeah.
So
So can't really knock it now.
yeah. So I'll explain. With Neo, we picked up Neo thinking he would like transition into Spiff's roles, and I'm pretty sure he played like entry. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
We saw that Twitter clip because we had no clue who we were going to pick up. He had some nasty Twitter clip, and we gave him a DM, stuff like that. We gave him a tryout. We ended up picking him up. We think he was pretty good.
Yeah.
Obviously he did get dropped, but I'll go into that later.
Okay. And he also did transition to more of that hard support role during SCS. Like he wasn't on those entry roles, kind of like what Spiff,
Yeah, he
I
played
assume, was doing.
yeah, he played a bit more like Sledge, stuff like that. And then mid-season, me and like a couple other players, we do go through like a little like transition or like right before. So
Okay.
obviously, if you like watching SFCL before SCS and all that, I was majority on like knock, like those type of like secondary entry like lurk roles.
Yeah.
Um, and so based off like a little bit like scrim results, we want to change some things around just because like obviously me as a player because I've been like successful on those roles for like so long, even going back to like SCS 6.
Yeah.
I was getting figured out a lot. That's why like my entry was really tanking in like SCS 7 stuff like that. So like we did play a lot of clubhouse. So I'd be like, for example, I'd be outside Ace. I wouldn't really be getting in the building, right?
Yeah.
And I'm obviously somebody who likes getting in there, just getting in their face first 10 seconds. I'm already in an entry
Yeah.
engagement. So I did my job. I'd get the hatch open, but that's why I struggled really a lot on like ace and stuff like that. But then but we transitioned me to kind of a bit more like support roles on some of those maps, so that Neo can kind of like flourish, or another player could kind of do like better.
Okay.
So yeah, so he was playing like Sledge Jaeger stuff like that. We played the stand-in with Asian actually because we had an idea. So Spiker got dropped, right? We
Yeah.
we dropped Spiker. Like it was no hard like feelings towards, but like we didn't have like any like grudges or anything like that
Yeah.
at
It's
Spiker.
just business
It's like we
sometimes.
saw a better opportunity, right? Because
Yeah.
like Asian's just freshly out of pro league. He knows what it takes to beat some of those teams, right?
Yeah.
And we were thinking how he could bring like that pro league leadership, or like having that like even just that little bit of experience in pro league, like what it takes, what we could actually use. And funny enough, even though all that didn't end up working out, he went back to LG because it went better for like his career.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to get back into pro league, and we're obviously underage, and he can't really get into that.
Yeah. So that
So
probably
Spiker,
affected it.
yeah. So Spiker joins back, right? We do teaming with Asian. We did learn a lot. Like we got a lot of like new like on how the meta kind of shifted, on the kind of how like the setups. It's more setups than just playing just strictly to a strat. Like you can change literally any op around half the
Okay.
time and you'd still be
So
okay.
I do have a question about that then. So like, was what Asian brought back from Pro League for that short time kind of more like tactical stuff, or like what specifically was he bringing to the board, like in kind of updating or like changing your awareness of like how to play the game to a certain extent, right?
Yeah, so he brought we're changing up our attacks a little bit, and
Yeah.
it kind of brought more with some new defenses as well because
Okay.
like it's more like spots and like setups rather than strict strat. You play here, and then like obviously with our team since we're aggressive, we look for those like little micro plays. So
Yeah.
like it doesn't matter really what op we're on as long as we're evening out the man count and we're coming ahead in the man count. So it's like we're running setups more like instead of strats. Like obviously we call it like a strat book, all that stuff, but
Yeah.
it's more setups like walls you get, positions you play, util you have, rather than
Hard
sit in
and
this corner.
fast. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like we're not talking like the Youngtis style of that's old ass
yeah, that's a
callback. So
lot.
I
Really.
I doubt many people know about that. But like Youngtis was the year one season two champion, and like
Mhm.
they had like the strat written out down to the second pretty much, where it was like you're droning for 7 seconds for this person entering this part of the map. After those 7 seconds, you get off the drone, you open the hatch, blah blah blah. Just so
Yeah,
everyone's like on the same page with that reference. Talking about SES, it wasn't the best or easiest run to the finals, but you did get there,
yeah.
and you did play OXG. What was it like playing against those against a pro league team on game day? Because I don't think people understand. Like everyone always talks about, oh, scrim player didn't show up again. Scrim player didn't show up again when they're like trashing on Twitter or whatever after they beat certain teams. But
Mhm.
like no one ever goes into the way that game day is different. How is it being in that game day environment with one of those top teams versus like a scrim? You know?
Yeah, so obviously, we've scrimmed OXG before. We've scrimmed almost like every pro team in the NAL. OXG, what makes them kind of like a strong team is how they really were playing like well around like Newers and like sweaters, like people with like good aim.
Yeah.
So it's like, and Dream also, that guy's like a rock. That guy, if he's in a corner surrounded, like if he's on border and he's in workshop, there's a guy Blue Desk, there's a guy like Vents, there's a guy like workshop door, that guy's at least getting one. That guy's a rock. Like that guy holds down the site so well, and it's like it's not one of those teams where you can say, okay, yeah, let's just rush the site because look at their gun skill on site. They can't really
Yeah.
compare. Dream, like even if no matter what op he's on, he can always somehow find a way to get like that kill. So
Okay.
it's like he's a really influential player. Going into game day, I feel like a different like presence from me because I feel like when we're down, like I'm always obviously like I'm always want to give like a motivational speech or something like that, but like I really dig in deep and I'm not like blaming people, but I'm thinking about this is it. Like no matter what, like is this how we want to like go out? Like, I'll be
Yeah.
screaming, I'll be swearing, like this ain't the way we're going out. This is not the way that, we've been fighting this hard, especially from where we were at the beginning of SCS, we went three
Yeah.
and two. We almost lost to IF. We were
Yeah.
trolling one of the maps. You really got to dig down deep. I feel like that's what it's about as a leader to really bring like your teammates back and to get that in their heads that,
Okay.
if we don't get this map, then we're done. Like border, like uh we were down 3-0 and then you got to realize like your win condition after that. Like
Yeah.
what you're doing isn't working, so you got to change something no matter if it's just like being stupid and peeking something or if it's just like, we quit peeking at all. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like because I feel like a lot of teams, oh yeah, they're like, or in scrims, they're like, oh yeah, they're not doing it on game day. Well, game day is the final, like you don't have second chances on game day. Everyone's like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna do that on game day. Like, I'm not gonna do that stupid, or like, he's not doing that on game day, that type of thing. Well, I feel like the only way that people shake on game day is if in scrims they're running around like a maniac. Because people on game day they choose to shake because they load into the lobby and they hold tab and they see who they're playing because they don't understand how high those stakes are. So like that's what makes them shake. And so like whenever we're us as a team, we're in game day and in scrims, like we're trying to feel like every single game day, we're trying to like get it as like a game day simulation, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you want to train as if it is game day. You don't need to get as hyped and stuff like that, but like you need to get in the
You approach
mindset
it
that
with that mindset and
yeah,
like kind of
yeah,
take that risk reward and that pressure when you're making decisions. Because like it's
yeah,
one thing to do that ballsy run out when you're up 6-3 in a scrim. It's another to do it 6-3 against OXG on the last
exactly.
map where if you give them this round, if you give them man advantage, they can snowball that
Hmm.
into a round, into a comeback, into a winning of the map, into all that
Yeah,
stuff. So kind of like bringing that pressure into it.
yeah, yeah, and
Okay.
obviously they're a pro team, so they know every single like they know every single trick in the game. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So it's like, and it's not like they're just like some seventh or eighth place pro league team. Like they just got top four at invite, right?
Yeah.
So they clearly know like they know something deeply well about the game and like their teamwork and stuff like that. So how we kind of played against them is we had obviously just by like we didn't really watch too many VODs on them because I feel like people were saying also how like saving for invite. Also, I don't think that's really valid no matter like who you play because
Yeah.
you
At
don't
the end
have
of the
to run.
day,
Yeah, you don't have to
they
run
want to
like same
win.
strats. Yeah,
Yeah.
who wants to lose? You know what I mean? And like you don't have to like show like your rushes or like your important plays so like that you're gonna choose like at invite. No matter what, you're still working as a team. It doesn't take you don't have to hide teamwork because
Yeah.
like I feel like that's in every game. Like there's no matter what, you should be having like some sort of teamwork. So like teamwork isn't something to be hidden. It's not something to save. So it's
Yeah.
like there you go.
Yeah. So kind of you touched on it briefly where like in game day you're more like motivational, like you dial it up to 11 with the
Yeah.
IGLing, like, and you also mentioned before the interview that you are the IGL for the new Arial Academy. uh, in your eyes, like, what is the role of the IGL? Because you get so many different definitions from players to casters to
Yeah.
analysts to whoever. So, like, what is the role and like what should they be doing for a team in your opinion?
I feel like there's so many different kinds of like IGLs, and there's some people who do call them like IGLs, some people who like actually aren't. Um, Me personally, I'm like the way my team plays, it fits it pretty well, and I feel like there's a lot of other people who chip in with this too. I usually call the main push, and then like we'll have, or I'll call like operators that like people need to switch to. So like what's good about my team is that everybody knows who's going to be around them and like what the main goal is. So it's like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if like I'm lurking across the map or if like we have like one person lurking and then like you know four of the people making the push. Like I'll be calling the push, and then like they will get their jobs done, and then like that. I don't know. It's just like scrim results so far have been pretty well. So I will say that. But IGLing me, I'm not like a micro IGL like a Mr. B. I'd say because like everyone
Yeah.
knows Mr. B kind of for that. Like he's telling like, oh yeah, Hat, you do this, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll call like ops and stuff like that, but also like if we see an adaptation mid round, like I can kind of say like who's gonna go where, who needs to do what. But if everyone can do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like um with info, I feel like a big thing with IGLing right now is because it's like the meta it feels like it's kind of you taking what's free, right? So
Yeah.
like you don't want to you see a whole stacked util, you're seeing a Runegates, ADSs, and a shield. Obviously, it depends on like the map, but like a lot of the time you don't want to clear it or just like depending on like who you're playing, stuff like that. So it's like you want to take what you or like what's free, and you want to put your players in positions to like get that first kill early, or like no matter what, just like a little cheeky play just to get
Yeah.
that like little advantage. I feel like that's why like it's not like old Siege where it's just like directly to the strat, no like micro plays, stuff like that, or like solo plays, stuff like that. Even just like a 1-for-1, like a 4v4, and like you're getting like a valuable pick, or just like anybody. It just like it creates this like ghost pressure. I feel like that's the
Yeah.
thing right now. It's like ghost pressure. You're shooting everything open. You're taking what's free. You're taking your side of the map, and then like it doesn't matter on some attacks if you get the first kill at a minute or if you get it in like 10 seconds in, because with the way that attacking is right now, I feel like if you're surrounding the site and you have what you need, if you're getting the first kill at 50 seconds or like early in the round, it doesn't matter because no matter what, like you're right on their doorstep.
Yeah. So you kind of mentioned it there where like anyone can call a strat or an adaptation mid round.
Mhm.
Do you think that like kind of strat decisions and like tactical reads and like adjustments mid round is separate from being a like leader? Because in-game leader, like leadership is kind of part and parcel with that, but we don't really touch on that much as much. You think IGL and you think like Mr. B, but you think more of like the telling Hat what to do, not as much like the leader of men type thing. Do you think that's an important part of it?
Yeah, obviously some teams they like don't have an IGL, but
Yeah.
if you're not gonna have an IGL, you at least need to have a leader, somebody who needs to like realize your win condition, or somebody who needs to realize when things are going wrong and when things need to change. So I feel like obviously on my team everybody can do that. Like everybody can kind of realize, oh yeah, something's not going on, like, we have to change something. For me, I usually like right away, I'm usually want to bring it up because even in scrims, like I feel like you should be playing to win, just because it's like once again, it's like a game day simulation. You know,
Yeah.
you don't want to. It like I'm tired like just people saying, oh yeah, scrim team stuff like that. If anything, you should use that as your advantage because if they're a scrim team, they're good in scrims. You're in a scrim right now, so like let's practice against like that best of the best at the
Yeah.
time right now, right? But having an adaptation, I feel like anybody can kind of call it just because like you have different players on different sides of the map, right? So it's like
Yeah.
if they're hitting sight on you or like if they're getting your walls open the first 10 seconds, somebody can call or like your site player, okay, listen, we're not really like the Velk or something or like Wamai isn't very useful. We bring like a Kate or a Bandit or something, you can still play your same spot. Just make sure that they're not getting these walls early and they're not hitting sight on me quick. Like stuff like
Yeah.
that or just like anything, just like a little shield or even just like a wall flopped just like so you can get that extra line of sight or like just so like you and a player or I think this is a big thing early in the round. I feel like attack or like whenever you're defending the same attack twice, there's always potential to do like a little microplay. So I feel like that's something my team is good at because
Okay.
sometimes I'm on site, sometimes I'm not on site, and this is just for anybody to call. So it's like whenever we always try and look for that early man advantage, even if it goes to a 4v4 or a 4v3, because like you can't give those teams that space,
Yeah.
and
And
that's the biggest thing.
so when you talk about the microplaying, kind of always doing something a little bit different when you're doing the same defense,
Yeah.
does that mean like just changing the position, changing the way that you play it, like moving a piece of utility to a different area, just kind of like that kind of thing, or is it more drastic or like less drastic than that?
So it's sometimes it can be op specific. So if we realize like a pattern with a team, and like we were gonna run a Valk or like a Solus, and then like get info, like if they're not taking below, you nitro them below. But I feel like it's not really more setup. Honestly, it can be like more operator based, like you could switch operators, but I feel like it's more just something to do to get with that early edge in the beginning of the round, or to give them some sort of ghost pressure to make them leave and like recuperate with their team. So instead of like switching operators or like a wall or something like that, it's more on how a team can play together, like better or like do
Okay.
something different. So if it's like, oh yeah, the first round we just kind of it's all about pace. So the first round, you sit behind your util, you shoot drones, you fall off early. The second round that you go that defense or like you run the first round, but the second round you want to change that pace. So like, you're getting in their face, you have a trade with you. It doesn't matter if it's a 4v4, if it goes to a 4v3, or like even just like a 4v4 and you're at low health. You did something to disrupt like their push. And also, I feel like attackers, their value sometimes will be a lot more greater than a defender. So like if you're like a Solus even just killing a Hibana like on Oregon basement, like
Yeah.
that has great value. So it's
Yeah.
like just taking like that extra set of eyes for a cam, like those stuns, or just like on any op in general. So majority of the time, I feel like killing an attacker for a defender, like the value for that's a lot better because no matter what, whenever you're falling back to site, if they can't get their walls or like they have to walk through doorways, you just have to sit there and hold it. Attackers actually have to push into it.
Yeah, I think it was Pinroll said this in a VOD review I did with him, where it was maps are only attacker sided in 5v5 situations.
Yep.
When talking about Chalet and you guys playing Chalet, and I think that holds very true. And like, kind of, you bring up a very valid point with that. I think because we've been touching on it a lot, the meta right now, like
Hmm.
you touched on like how it's phantom pressure right now. The attack is just opening a lot of like avenues to attack, to take free real estate, and kind of take the control that's being given by the defense, because obviously the defense can't be everywhere at once.
Yeah.
What do you think about the meta? Because like we had the 20-second meta a few years ago. We had the LMG meta and like the super aggro meta, and we were somewhere in between. Like now we're here with Solus. At least personally, I feel like it's defined mostly by like Azami, Val, Solus, like this trifecta of you can't
Yeah.
ban all these ops. But like, what's your take on it?
I 100% would agree with that. Obviously with that IQ quarantine, I don't know if you knew there was a glitch lately with
Oh,
IQ. So she can see Warden and Solus anytime on her scanner, like no
okay,
matter what. So IQ the last like week was in like a quarantine in like scrims and like on in competitive. I'm pretty
okay,
sure it's being fixed tomorrow for NAL, but
okay.
with that, not being able to bring IQ lately was kind of annoying. But yeah, those like if you have Solus, you have Mira, Azami, Valk, even Cade on certain maps, like stuff like that. Honestly, like a second like flex ban would probably be good. Like it would aid a lot. But
Yeah,
I feel like that's defense no matter what. I feel like it doesn't matter kind of what ops you're running. like you could be running your Oryx or Warden, like your Solus and Alibi, something like that. Because I feel like the meta right now in defense, it's kind of in a mix between it's like aggression and then like towards the end, it's kind of towards util a little bit.
Okay.
Like you're still kind of running like Jaeger Wamai, but you're running all those aggressive ops like Solus, like Alibi, stuff like that. But back on site, you're falling back to like a Mira or like you have a Cade or like a lot of it's info too, because like those ops like they have like BPs stuff like that, like
Yeah.
Valkyrie. So you're running like your util, like you have one or two ops for util, like a smoke, like smoke Cade, smoke Mira, smoke, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then like you have your three like aggressor ops.
Okay.
So. Mhm. Yeah,
So
so
it
1.5,
yeah.
those are crazy.
So do you think the meta's like in a good balance between like the util heavy 20-second meta style and the like in your face aggro like LMG meta? Do you think we're in like a pretty okay like balance between the two, or do you think like more work could be done?
I feel like some more work might need to be done because
Okay.
I feel like it's no matter what, it feels a little defender sided just because of these operators. Obviously with like attacker repick, I haven't looked at like the stats or anything on
Oh
like
yeah.
what's where attacker side or defender sided, but just playing the game like in scrims and stuff like that, it feels a little bit more defender sided just because like how much like what all these ops can do. And you can't ban like all five of those operators. So no matter what, you're gonna be falling into one of them. So I
Yeah.
think it might need a little bit more work or like some nerfs. Like Azami might need like a little like Kiba nerf, like just take one away or something.
Yeah.
I don't really know a nerf for Solus or like anything like that, but definitely like a little bit, just a little bit more. Like I feel it needs to be done.
Yeah. Do you think like attack is kind of penned into being a little stagnant? Because that's something I notice is like, yeah, we can have a lot of creative picks, but at the same time, like, in order to handle like that trifecta, I guess, adding in mirroring Kate, it's like a star or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
I failed geometry. Like you can't ban all those operators, so you kind of like have this certain checklist of things you have to do as an attacker. So you have to take certain ops to do these certain things, and that kind of limits how creative you can be on the attack, even with attacker repick. Do you think that's true, or am I off base there?
No, that I feel like that is true. I feel like with Bravo now, it makes attacks a lot more easier because they could be like they could be doing a defense that's like more extended out, and they have like their banshees, like their util to kind of like stop a lurk or something like that. And if you get that early in the or like early in the round, and like you have some good team play, like coordinating like how to push like into this like util, I feel like or even like Flores can be up too. So I feel like attack, it's still kind of aggressive. I feel like playing aggressive early, I feel like that kind of counters out their like early aggression because a lot of teams now, they're kind of playing a little bit in your face stuff like that because like the operators that they have.
Yeah.
So even being a little bit like aggressive on attack, like getting in the building early, or just like using like a nade early, or like just even using your I feel like cams are very important, uh, like a bit more to an extent now.
Okay.
Like obviously they've always been important, but I feel like using your drones are a lot more important because in the prep phase, it allows you to see like what's clear, what's not, right? And then also like with Solus being up, so obviously you need to keep your drones a bit more reserved, but I feel like it's a lot more important with taking what's free and like what's not free. So like
Okay.
as somebody like who can call that, you need like your info, and if you are low on cams, you kind of got to know what to do like, I mean, obviously a lot of people result to like trading out and stuff like that. But if like you're doing an attack where you don't really need much info, or like you're in the setups where you need to be, because like you're already almost collapsed on the site,
Yeah.
like you don't need much info. You just need to have like the better team play to be able to do that. So a lot more teams, they're going like more direct because with the roam, like Solus on the roam, or like you might be playing against an Azami on the roam, just holding down a corner. Or, like sometimes you'll see a Mira, like stuff like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, so a lot more directs from teams, I've realized, just like in scrims and stuff like that. I feel like
Okay.
it's a lot better than clearing out like your Solus, all that like anti-info stuff like that.
Yeah, just trying to deal with all that utility and all that like well, yeah, just utility and sometimes people on that roam. It's
Yeah.
just better to like deal with a site.
Hmm.
Okay. Uh so Brava. Like we've seen 2 weeks, two-ish weeks with her, like in pro play, and like some teams, Fox A really taken to the op, and other teams have also messed around with her just a little bit. But like, what are your thoughts on the operator? Is she like in this good place? Because the general sentiment that I've heard is like she's not busted and she's not underpowered. She's no sense, but she's also no Azami, and like that makes her good. Like,
Yeah.
do you agree with
With
that?
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like she's in a good spot. Especially with that nerf like to Twitch a little bit.
Okay.
Twitch you'd have like your Twitch runs running in, you'd get that type of stuff. Twitch is still viable, but I feel like Bradlaugh, um, it makes attacking like hitting or like lurk or like late round or even just like getting aggressive on them a lot more easier. Because if you're getting like those banshees or you're hacking those like BPs in sight and you have that info, I feel like it's really powerful just for somebody to call whoever your Bravo player is or like whatever, just to see that they're on site by themselves or the banshee's cleared, so like you're able to walk in like stuff like that. I feel like she is in a good place. I do
Okay.
see her a lot with the cap can, and it's kind of hard to choose if you pick on Capcan to pick if you're gonna hack the Capcans far off site in case they're flanking later, or the ones more closer to site if you can somehow get it. For
Okay.
example, like theme park, like a lot of teams put Capcans on split.
Yeah.
It's hard, but obviously they might see that. They might like their site player just might be looking for the drone. And
Yeah.
sometimes it can be like a little like issue to determine if you're gonna hack those early or if you're gonna hack like the ones off site because obviously they're gonna have to fall back. It's a big map at some point.
Yeah.
So
But that makes it kind of like a fun interaction, and like there's
yeah.
mind games that can be played there. Whereas some of these ops, like with Solus, there's not a lot of mind game to be played. It's like, does she see the drone? Yes, no, it gets shot. So
Yeah.
that's honestly a good sign in my opinion that like there can be that kind of decision making. I guess because we're already at the 26-minute mark. I guess we'll touch on your team briefly, and then we'll close out.
All right.
You're on the new Arial Arise Academy, which has some new faces and some like faces that people have definitely heard of before. Like, for those that don't know, it's you, Ashn, Ambi, your teammate from the other Arial Arise Academy, and then Amp, Kento, and Asian? No,
Reverse.
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 There we go.
Yep. So I'll start with A and B. So
Yeah,
this is I think coming up now. It's almost 2 years, maybe 2.5 that I've been teaming with A and B.
yeah.
Me and him have like we kind of have built like an ideal of how me and him like playing Siege.
Okay.
Aggressive in your face. So it's kind of the me and Ambi system. To be fair, I feel like that's how it's been on a lot of different teams that we've been on, or just
Yeah.
like in the past. But with him, I mean, that kid's nasty. Obviously, you could be watching his Twitch streams. He's just like thousand million DPI just running around, shooting people in the head. So that guy, even whenever he's not like playing an entry op, that guy is such a scary force. Like I
Yeah.
hate playing Ambi. Like in FPL, I'd hate to play Ambi. In ranked, like I don't know. I fear Ambi if anything. Um,
So
it
you
was
took the approach of like, well, I don't like playing him, so I'm teaming with him, so
yeah
I never have to deal with it. That's
yeah
the approach you took. I
yeah.
don't hate it.
We picked him up back for SCS 6, and that kid's development has been like crazy. Like the amount of growth he has like had ever since he first started. Like this guy, I mean, he can even like call like stuff like that. Like
Damn.
he's
Okay.
actually he can do it all. Like he was on rolls during SCS 7 where on some rounds he'd be on entry and then the next round he's on thermite. Like he actually can do it all.
Yeah.
That he's great.
Talk to me about Kento a little bit, because this is a player that had his moment in the NAL and then like kind of
Hmm.
got unceremoniously dropped. Honestly, I want to say that was after the Yanchiping major, like one of the
Yeah,
majors with Mirage. He got
yeah.
unceremoniously dropped, and like there's just no noise about him. And all of a sudden, he's back. He's on Ariel
Mhm.
Academy. What does he bring to the team? Because like I don't think Mirage was necessarily the best showing, but I don't know. I don't think that's his fault, right? So like, what does he
Yeah.
do?
He brings a lot of that, like a little bit of leadership with how to like calm people down. I think that's what he's really good at.
Okay.
Is he realizes he's somebody who's good at realizing like a win condition on like what we're doing wrong. Obviously, like him being pro league, like playing pro league teams, and he realizes like what we need to do to like calm down, or if we're getting too like flustered, we need to calm down, or just he brings a lot of different ideas too. Because
Okay.
obviously on Mirage, they had nasty players, so he knows kind of how they like fit it well, like all into like one unit. So like he brings a lot of ideas on like different type of attacks, even like defenses, little things that we could do to like get that edge over them, over like opponent like the next round or something. So he's
Okay.
really good at like getting us calmed down and like realizing what we really need to do to win or like what we need to change. And I feel like that's just him like coming from like those stages in pro league. Like he did learn from that, and he brought it here. So like I'm glad that he did bring it. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Um, I guess that does answer the follow up question I was going to ask, which was, did he bring any of that secret sauce from the NAL? But it sounds like
Yeah,
yes.
he did.
So I guess to close out, there's not well, there's a lot of question marks when it comes to the future of amateur siege, like tier 2,
Mhm.
tier 3, especially in NA.
Yeah.
Does that make it hard for this Arial Academy team to kind of like find things to compete in? Because like there's no challenger league, even if there is, like being under having some underagers still presents a challenge to competing in those kinds of teams.
Mhm.
Is it hard to find that motivation sometimes, just with like so much up in the air?
I feel like so me and Amy are the only underagers on our team. The other we have like Amp is 20 and Kento just turned 20 and then Reverse 19.
Yeah.
So I have 6 months till I'm 18. Ambi has a little under a year now. So
Okay.
I feel like having the motivation that there is something out there, that's what's really good. Like that's what got us like scrimming and like wanting to improve through scrims.
Okay.
I feel like without that presence, like people just say, "Oh yeah, let's just make a scrim team," let's just practice in the off season. That always results to trolling. Like no matter
Yeah.
what, that will always result to trolling because there's nothing to practice for, even though you like think that you're gonna get better just by like scrimming these days. But like you really can't tell if your team is gonna be good or not. Like if there is a league that pops up, or like if you're just doing it for fun, like you're not really. I feel like you're not really improving because like you don't really have anything to practice for, so you're just kind of like playing to play.
Yeah.
Because like obviously you don't want to get frustrated, like stuff like that. But I feel like frustration comes along with like wanting to win because like you have like events coming up, stuff like that. But
Okay.
us knowing that SFCL is like in like I think it's next week. In scrims, we've really been trying to push like team play together, like stuff like that, and we've had like really good results with that. So I feel like just in the back of our heads, knowing that, we're practicing hard for this, we better, put the effort in scrims and on game day to make sure like we don't get called like, scrim stars, scrim team, because
Yeah.
like scrim results have been pretty good, and I don't have the fear that we're gonna be a scrim team. I just, you just at the end of the day, you just always hope that it's gonna like replicate to game day because that's all that matters in the end.
Yeah, and there is also that drive of kind of like setting yourselves up as much as you can to like show when you do turn 18, at least for you and Ambi,
Yeah.
and like for Ashn and Kento and Reverse as well. Like we are playing at this high level. We are pro league ready. Like
Hmm.
put me in chief. I'll do some damage.
Yeah.
Kind of got two meme questions to end
Okay.
this on. The first one is anything underrated in the meta that like you think no one else is aware of. My go-to was the Echo Shoddy, and then they buffed the Supernova, and I don't think it's super underrated anymore because everyone knows that thing's nasty now. You got anything
This is
like
a
that?
hard one. This is a hard one.
Really?
Um, I feel like it's not really underrated. I feel like it's not really picked anywhere. I feel like Thatcher,
Okay.
because obviously, there are teams that like do a lot of like bunkers and stuff like that. Thatcher, obviously he's not like underrated. I feel like he's just a bit more less picked because like you have your Bravo, you have Flores, like that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And especially with a lot more teams, trying to like you don't always need a hard breach in this kind of like attacking meta because like you're just surrounding the site like on Windows and stuff like that. So I feel like when you do have a hard breach and you're trying to like get those walls open quick, Thatcher's like underrated. I feel like he's like
Okay.
not as picked as much. So I feel like he's a good one.
Yeah, it just got banned so much in ranked or whatever. Like people
Yeah.
forgot that he's actually kind of good.
And he's 3 armor, which makes it worse. But
Yeah.
him and Sledge, they suck for being 3 armors. But
Bro,
hey,
put
you
mute
need
in
them.
there too. Like greatest
Yeah, mute.
travesties
Oh
in the
my
game.
God,
Oh,
mute 3 armor setup, 4 mute jammers. You might have to get a wall, and then he has to make all those holes. Like it's horrible.
I question the decision making on that one. And
Mhm.
then last question: do you have a funny story like of a teammate that happened during a scrim or a game that like is safe for work, and obviously you don't have to
Oh,
out them unless it's like funny.
so 3 weeks ago, probably, whenever we just picked up Amp.
Okay.
I don't know if Reverse was there. Yeah, Reverse was there. This is when Neo got dropped. Um, Spiker in the middle of the first map found out he made Pro League. So
Oh.
we knew that we had like Kento on standby because Kento wanted to play. Like we didn't really know for who, but we knew like we had a hard breach like player filled with Amp. So like we can fit a lot of players in there. But
Yeah.
I wanted Kento, Ambi wanted Kento because I feel like he's fresh out the NAL. Like he can bring something obviously to us. So so we do our first six defenses on Oregon, right? And
Yeah.
then we said like he tells us, oh, he made Pro League, and then we're like, no, get out of my lobby. We're getting someone else. Obviously, we congratulated him, but we told him get the hell out. And then we call Kento, and then we said rehost. We have the rubber band bug, and then we're in the lobby with a new fifth for the next six attacks. So that was the
Just
story of
slid that right in there. Like, don't
yeah,
don't don't mind this. Don't mind
yeah,
us.
don't mind that one. Yeah.
Nice. All right. Anything you want to say to close out this interview?
Obviously, shout out to my team. Also, I want to give bigger shout outs to Amp and Reverse because we didn't really get to talk about them, and I did
Yeah.
have a lot of good things to say about them. So
Yeah.
bigger shout out to them. But obviously, shout out Kento and Ambi. Shout out to Ariel like for allowing us to kind of like go through with all this like roster. Like there was a lot of roster moves, a lot of graphics needing to be made in the last like 2 weeks, just because we didn't know who we were playing with.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh yeah, welcome this person. Oh yeah, buy this person, buy this person. It was like they were quick to respond to it. So shout out Rusty and everyone at Ariel. Shout out SFCL for this might potentially could possibly be my last T3 tournament. So let's get this out with a bang here. Thank you for bringing it back. But yeah, shout out to you for hosting this as well. It was a pleasure doing it.
Yeah. It's always fun.